Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Just Ducky, the Weird Shifters series by C.A. Key. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. It was a rainy day in Shifter's Corner, the type no one enjoyed, especially not while wandering about in a human form. It was bad enough weathering drier days as a useless woman. Unfortunately, she had no choice but to persevere. No one actually needed her to do any real work. Why would they? Jobs went to the strongest, feisty, fiercest, fastest of the lot. Her shifted form wasn't any of that, not even close. Simple and easy, that was all she was good for. Like laundry. Ugh. The overloaded bin of dirty clothes practically covered her entire face, making seeing where she was going close to impossible. Luckily, the route was one she knew well, having already taken it thousands of times before in order to complete daily chores. Unluckily, it was also where her peers knew she'd be and the place they waited to torture her. Hey, Ducky, a girl laughed, sticking out her foot. She fell for that one a lot. Down went the laundry, followed by her clumsy body. Ow! She rolled over, staring at the prankster. There was no use complaining, no one would listen. Even the adults were too busy howling and chuckling in a crude manner meant to further egg the instigator on. Nobody was on her side. And all the king's horses and men couldn't put Ducky back together again, the girl cruelly recited. Lita was the first daughter of the meanest and most admired wolf pack in the town, a future beta in training who, with a lot of practice over the past year, finally had the family attitude down pat. That was an egg, Ducky blurted out. It refers to the shell being broken. You're only one step further from being an egg. An extremely pink tongue popped out at her, followed by a long middle finger sticking straight up. The gesture wasn't a recognizable one. Maybe the in-crowd knew what it meant. They were certainly laughing as if they did. She wasn't one of them, the sort who were in on the joke. Her job was to be the punchline. Ducky gathered her laundry. It was moot to try arguing. She was, in fact, barely a smidgen better than the egg. She was a duckling, a fuzzy yellow baby duck. Who needed that? Shifters were hired for a number of reasons: protection, mercenary work, travel guides, spies, and workhorses, for a lack of a better term. Those ones weren't all horses, some were oxen, donkeys, or other large animals. She wasn't a bear. She wasn't a wolf. She wasn't a beast of burden. She wasn't able to fly, to spy, nor could she swim properly. No one was frightened of her, and she stuck out like a yellow thumb. Add that all together, and she was completely useless in a town when one's worth was decided by one's abilities. She was just Ducky. That wasn't even her real name. Someone she was unable to recall exactly who nicknamed her that in just one day. It stuck. Even her own parents used Ducky as if they chose it for her at birth. Hey, Ducky, Lita called out, holding up a pair of white panties. You forgot these. She pinched her nose with her spare hand. They stink. Are you sure these are clean? Maybe your stink is too strong for one washing. Ducky's lips trembled, nerves fighting one another in her stomach to be the first freed. Oh, no, she exclaimed, knowing what came next. A big bird, followed by tiny feathers popping out everywhere. A second later, she was sitting in a pile of new laundry, her clothes, her bill opened, emitting soft, shrill whistles. The youth of the town gathered, laughing while poking at her with sticks and throwing stones. That hurt. It was waddling time. Ducky hightailed it through yards and houses, taking every shortcut possible back to the safety of her home. She might have been a failure, but her parents were not. No one crossed them to their faces, even about their pathetic daughter. You've done it again, haven't you? Her mother, Chantel, said, sighing heavily. Where did you leave your clothes this time? She glanced around. And where is the laundry? One hand scooped her daughter up, smoothing back ruffled out feathers. You have to learn how to control your shifting. It's not normal for a paranormal creature to change at the first sign of anxiety or nervousness. We only shift when our talents are needed. Except a duckling had no talents. There was no reason for her to change from one form to the other. She had no skills worth speaking of either way. A human wasn't meant to exist in the supernatural part of the world, and a duckling wasn't either. Whack. She was on the floor again. The woman entered the room unannounced, laundry falling from her arms. Found this in the road. The storm brewed deep within the gray of her eyes, ending in a potent lightning strike as her gaze lowered to the floor. Vampire Lord Kobreon is returning. We can't have these little incidents interrupting his arrival. Try to control your daughter. It's you who will be the laughingstock if he sees her like this. Lord Kobreon? Her mother gasped. Why now? Why here? The woman neared, whispering. Word on the street says he's interviewing everyone looking for a bride. She stepped back a few paces, wagging one hand at the wrist. Well, that's just gossip, of course. Who knows what the real reason is? Gossip, her mother replied. When is this supposed to happen? The day after tomorrow. Whack. The woman's harsh gaze practically singed the ends of her feathers. It might be best to keep Ducky indoors. We don't want anything embarrassing happening in front of his lordship now, do we? The smirk on her face insinuated she'd won some sort of competition. That was to be expected from the head of the feline shifters. Everything and anything was a chance to put down her peers. Cat mentality insisted upon them being held in highest esteem. No, Chantel said, wringing her apron as the woman exited. We don't. The answer wasn't actually needed. Only the two of them remained in the room. Ducky, painted on smile with her eyes slanted into thin slits. Why don't you rest on your bed until you can manage switching back? Head hung low, she waddled away. There was no use arguing. Not even her mother spoke fluent quack, and even if she could, there wasn't much else to say. There was no point in meeting Lord Kobreon. It wasn't as if he was going to magically acknowledge her or anything. Under a wooden dresser lay a box. The duck's jaw was just strong enough to pull it out, her beak then nudging off the lid. Inside was everything she'd collected over the years, clippings from papers, memorabilia from festivals. If it had been his image on it, she bought it. That was her one ironclad rule. He was the epitome of warrior types, strong, confident, outspoken, stern. There was an air swirling about him, one which made him unapproachable by the norm. He was beyond her reach, except inside that little box. She was just Ducky after all. That wasn't going to stop her from taking a peek, though.